You all so much for joining us today on our travel show. This is Will Reese with AFC Vacations, and glad to have you join us. Lots of trips to talk about as we're covering some of our summer and fall destinations. And so we'll jump right into the show and hope you enjoy. If you're new to AFC, what we do are worldwide tours and cruises, all different travel styles from our Unpack Once tours to our train trips, some special events tours that we do offer, as well as our river cruises. So a lot of variety there. And then one of our great tour ideas that we've had for a number of years are our mystery tours. And those travel to all around the United States. We have one just about every single month, and I'll talk a little bit about those as well. What's included with an AFC vacation is first and foremost round-trip airfare, and that's shown in the brochure with each of the major gateways. If you don't see a major gateway that you utilize, or if you want to include friends or family members on the tour with you, we're more than happy to accommodate, and we can also incorporate them into the program. One of the other aspects that we offer are tour managers that guide you through the entire program, and it really does give you a great experience to get the depth of knowledge that they provide in the experience in the tour itself. So it really is a fun opportunity to travel. We also have a couple of guarantees. One is our booking guarantee and those guaranteed departures. So what that means is you'll see the symbol GD in the brochure and on the show. That means the trip has enough passengers to operate and we're good to go out the door. We also provide guaranteed pricing. And what that means is once you put your deposit down on a tour, your price is locked in. And so even as fuel prices change, as other surcharges head our way, that doesn't get passed on to you. And that's what you can expect with AFC. One of the great values that we do provide is home pickup airport service. So we pick you up at your door, take you to the airport, and bring you back at the end of the trip. And it makes travel so much simpler. So it really does provide a good service and simplifies travel as a whole. If you make your own way to and from the airport, using Uber or Lyft or with friends or family members, we take $100 off your final payment if you choose to make your own way. So let our staff know as you book the trip if you plan to do that, and we'll remove that from your final cost. What AFC is really about is real people and real service, and it is a wonderful team in our office that helps along the way. Everybody from April, Joe, Sam, and Karen, Delta, we have a really well-versed staff of knowledge from our office standpoint, and they're able to help you with your questions, make sure you're set for your vacation and ready to go out the door. We're also part of the USTOA, that's the United States Tour Operators Association, and so we're a select member of about 50 tour operators nationwide that are covered under a $1 million Travelers Assistance Program. And how that affects you is we put down a bond that covers your deposits, travel insurance, and final payments if for any reason the company went through insolvency. Now, we have a lot of great offers that are incorporated. First, our risk-free deposits. And what that means is you can deposit on a tour without any risk, any cancellation prior to final payment at 90 days. There's no loss to you. You can get a future travel credit for any cancellation fee, deposit, or travel insurance if you purchase that. So it really is a good investment, putting down a deposit and being able to adjust your trip if something does come up, and that's outside the travel insurance. Our Travelers Club is a great loyalty program. So if you do book a trip with us, a tour or European river cruise, you're automatically enrolled to receive a $100 loyalty credit, and that's good for each trip thereafter. So $100 each trip, and those are valid for 18 months. So if you do book a trip with us and a second within 18 months, you get that loyalty credit there. Our Refer a Friend credit is really based on how we grew as a company. We started with word of mouth. People told their friends and family members about us. They traveled with us and really loved the experience. And so if you do tell your friends or family members about us, we do offer our standard Refer a Friend credit at $100. So your next trip, once your friend or family member has traveled with us and used your name, provides that credit. We're also doing a $200 Refer a Friend credit with our new brochure that comes out here in just another week or so. So look out for that in the mail, and that provides a really great value when you tell your friends and family members about AFC. Our early booking savings is also another great way to save. And what that does is if you're one of the first 20 travelers to book on a specific departure date, you can save up to $100 off on domestic and international tours and up to $75 off as the 21st through 40th client to book on a trip. So it saves a good chunk of money there. And we double that for some of our exotic programs like Kenya, as well as our Morocco program, and then our European river cruises as well. So really great value in that sense. Getting into our regularly scheduled programs, this is our Wonders of the Blue Danube River Cruise. And we have 2 departures on this. It's aboard the same ship, the Amadeus Nova. So on October 10th, we're going from Budapest to Regensburg and fly out of Munich. And then on October 17th, it goes the opposite direction. So depending on which way you want to go on the river or what date works for you, both are guaranteed and both hit the same sites, just in a different order. So getting into some of the items that are incorporated on our European river cruises, first and foremost, we have free Wi-Fi on board for our cruises. We also have hand-selected wine and draft beers included with our dinners. So 2 great features that make the experience a little bit better. It's always nice to have a good glass of wine with your wonderful meal on board. All of the meals are included on board, so you can see there's 20 meals incorporated on this program. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner are all incorporated on the ship. And then from Budapest, we'll incorporate a city tour. It's one of my favorite Eastern European cities. A really great depth of the castle up on the hill, the Parliament building down on the river, and all the beautiful bridges that go stretching across the city. A lot of fun little areas in downtown, including the market, and we'll get a chance to see all of that on the city tour. And then we also work our way up to Bratislava, and the old town in Bratislava is just absolutely wonderful. A really beautiful setting. We'll go up to the castle and get a chance to see that in our time in Bratislava. And then over to the classical city of Vienna. A really interesting architecture throughout that city. The beautiful cathedral as well. So that's a fun stop. And then we'll get a chance to explore the surrounding areas of the city as well. We also offer a Schönbrunn Palace optional tour, and that takes us over the palace of the Habsburg dynasty. Really incredible structure with all sorts of different designed rooms, amazing art, as well as incredible antiques. And that dates back to the 1700s. We'll go from Vienna over to Melk. We'll get a chance to see the Melk Abbey. And this dates back to the late 1700s. A beautiful, unbelievable palace and abbey up on the hillside overlooking the Danube River. And as we continue through Austria, we'll stop in Linz and offer an optional tour to Salzburg. And that's a full day optional where we'll get a chance to do a city tour of Salzburg, learn a little bit about the sound of music, and get some great photo stops along the way. We'll meet the ship back in Passau and continue from there to Regensburg. And Regensburg is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We'll do a walking tour and also incorporate a brewery tasting. So trying some great local beers. On this program as well, we offer a 2-night extension to Prague. So a really great opportunity to experience an amazing Eastern European city in the Czech Republic. Our Normandy, Paris, and the Seine River cruise still does have space on our October 6th departure, but that is running out. There's a limited number of cabins still remaining on that departure. It is 9 days, 7 nights, and 20 meals incorporated. And this is one of my favorite programs when it comes to the rivers. Each and every stop that we make is a highlight, starting from our visit to Auvers-sur-Oise, which is where Vincent van Gogh spent his last days. So you can see a tremendous number of artworks from his time in the city. And we'll also take you up to his gravesite where he was buried next to his brother. You'll see his apartment that he lived in above the Café Rouge. And then from there, we head up to the city of Rouen. And this has tremendous connections to Joan of Arc. We'll get a chance to see the main cathedral with its Gothic architecture, as well as the more modern cathedral dedicated to Joan of Arc with its stained glass windows. And it's just a great town to explore and walk through, get a chance to grab coffee or a glass of wine and enjoy the people watching. From there, we continue out. We have an afternoon at leisure in Rouen after our walking tour with a local guide, and then over to the coastline. And this is where we get to work our way out to Etretat. And that's pictured in the upper right corner with its amazing arches over the Atlantic Ocean on both sides of the cliffs. We'll go from there over to Honfleur as an optional, and this beautiful, quaint little harbor area is home to an amazing cathedral, old church dating back to the 1700s. So really fascinating history to that. We also try to time that up with the farmers market on Saturday, and they have all sorts of local produce and goods, really specialty items from the region, including ciders, as the Normandy region's well known for that. And then a highlight for everyone is going to the full day tour of the Normandy beaches. And we'll start out with the area of Pont du Hoc, which is where the Army Rangers scaled 100-foot cliffs to destroy the German batteries on D-Day. We'll also take you down to Omaha Beach, one of two beachheads that the Americans landed at, and a really in-depth look at this amazing piece of our history. We'll go over to the American Cemetery, and that's where over 9,000 American soldiers are buried from that conflict. And then from there, we have lunch in the Normandy region while we're out by the beaches, and then we also stop at a museum dedicated to the Battle of Normandy. As we work our way back downriver, we'll also stop in Les Andelys and a visit to Gaverny as an optional tour. And this is where Monet's House and Gardens is located. The house itself is a really stunning structure, a lot of great artworks, both from Monet as well as other artists. And then the gardens are stupendous. A really incredible walk through the bamboo gardens as well as the ponds, the beautiful bridges. So it's a great highlight there. And then last but not least is arriving back into Paris, where we'll do a city tour, getting to see the Notre Dame, the Arc de Triomphe, as well as the Eiffel Tower from a number of different viewpoints. And then an optional tour to the beautiful Sacré-Cœur Basilica up on the hill. So that's a great stop as well. We do offer a 2-night extension by high-speed train to London on this program as well, and that's a really fun experience, going to the city of London, across the Channel, and getting to do a city tour of London with all the famous sites there. We do a pub dinner as well as a day at leisure. So this one goes out October 6th. Some of our domestic programs that are operating in the fall and summer are North Carolina and Outer Banks is a really popular destination, a really amazing itinerary when it comes to the different stops that we make. And this one's been recreated over a number of years since the pandemic, as we've been able to add some fun experiences on this. We'll start and end in Raleigh, getting a chance to do a city tour there. And then we work our way out to the coastline to Atlantic Beach for 2 nights. And one of the big highlights is getting to spend 2 nights in Atlantic Beach and 3 nights in Nags Head up to the north, where these areas are beachfront properties. So really beautiful hotels. From Atlantic Beach, we also get a chance to explore the off-road nature safari, which is tracking the wild horses through the different landscapes. So that's a really fun adventure on board a off-road vehicle. We then go out and check out a number of different lighthouses up and down the coast as we go to many of the different islands outside of North Carolina. And we'll take a Inner Banks cruise for lunch, get a chance to get a great meal and experience the waterways of North Carolina. And then we'll also be taking the ferries across to Ocracoke Island, famous for a lot of pirate history with Blackbeard's Parish, as well as Hatteras Island and Roanoke. And within Nags Head, that area is a great stopping point for our visit out to the Wright Brothers National Memorial. We'll also get a chance to explore Beaufort, and that is closer to Atlantic Beach. It's a fun community, really beautiful stretch. And then also learning about the birthplace of Pepsi in this little pharmacy where the pharmacist's assistant created the combination. So this one goes out September 10th and September 19th. Now, our most popular trip that we do offer is Niagara Falls and the Grand Hotel. This is a wonderful 8-day, 7-night program starting in Dearborn, Michigan. So we'll fly into Detroit and stay in one of the nearby townships with Dearborn. So 2 nights there, and that is the birthplace of Henry Ford. And so we'll get a chance to see the Henry Ford Museum, as well as the Greenfield Village, which brings you back in time into the 1920s and 30s with some of the timely attire. And then over to the River Rouge truck plant, and that's where they're building F-150 trucks in front of your eyes. So you get on the assembly line and get to see how these trucks are put together. It's a really amazing experience. We then drive up to the north of Michigan, spending 2 nights on Mackinac Island at the Grand Hotel. And this is one of the favorites for a lot of people, getting a chance to experience this grand property, all the different amenities it has, and the island itself is car-free. So you're picked up by horse-drawn carriage, taken up to the hotel, and then we do a horse-drawn carriage tour of the island. So that's fascinating as well. We do a great dinner at the hotel, and that's where people get dressed up. The attire for that night is a little fancier. You can rent suits at the property, but it's good to bring one as you're making your way up there. Then from Mackinac, we head down to Frankenmuth in kind of the thumb pocket of Michigan. And this is a Bavarian-style town with amazing architecture, as well as one of the largest Christmas stores on the planet. It's about the size of a Costco. So that's a fun stop as well. We then head over to Niagara Falls, and we are on the Canadian side of Niagara, getting a chance to get a better view and perspective of the falls. And that's where we'll do the Maid of the Mist type cruise as we go under the falls, and also the journey behind the falls. And we'll tour the Niagara area along with that. And we'll fly either out of Buffalo or Toronto on this program. So a really fun journey, getting a chance to explore this area. Now, our Music Cities, New Orleans, Memphis, and Nashville program is nearly guaranteed on October 5th. So just a couple more passengers and we'll get to that guaranteed status. But this is an 8-day, 7-night program with 11 meals incorporated. And we start in the city of New Orleans, home of jazz. And each of these cities has a great music theme to it, but it doesn't mean that's the only type of music you can hear in this city. So outside of jazz, they have blues, they have everything in between when it comes to New Orleans. And we'll do 3 nights there in the French Quarter, usually utilizing the Bienville House, which is a historic property. And we go to the New Orleans School of Cooking. And this is an amazing food demonstration of the Cajun cuisine that they have in town. So it's a food demonstration as well as a dinner. We also take the paddle wheel cruise out on the Mississippi River, and it gives a great perspective of the city's skyline. And then a French Quarter walking tour. And that incorporates some of the great stops along town, including that architecture, the beautiful flowers that are hanging in the baskets outside of the buildings. And then we'll also work our way over to Café du Monde and get a chance to try some of those famous beignets. As we work our way north through Mississippi, we'll stop in Jackson. We'll also get a chance to see the B.B. King Museum, focusing on his life and time in music. And then up in Memphis, we'll spend 2 nights, getting a chance to do the National Civil Rights Museum, a city tour within Memphis, and a dinner on Beale Street, which is where the famous blues clubs are located. In our time there as well, we'll work our way over to Graceland and get a chance to see Elvis Presley's home. And this is a fascinating sight, seeing all the different rooms of his home as well as the piano in the living room. That's a fun stop. We finish out in Nashville. We have 2 nights to wrap up, and that's where we'll get a chance to see the Country Music Hall of Fame as well as a performance of the Grand Ole Opry. And on our city tour, we'll see a number of different sites, including Studio B. And this is a fascinating music studio with all sorts of heritage in deep blues as well as other music. So going out October 5th, and again, a smaller group so far. So it's a great opportunity to travel in that sense. Our Nashville Smoky Mountains and Bluegrass also hits Tennessee, but incorporates some of Kentucky and North Carolina along with it. And we'll start out in Louisville with 2 nights there. And this goes out September 13th and October 4th, with October 4th already being guaranteed. That's an 8-day, 7-night trip. And as we arrive into Louisville, we get a chance to see Churchill Downs, the racetrack, as well as the museum. We also work our way over to the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience. And bourbon is a famous piece of Kentucky lifestyle. It's a fun opportunity to learn more about it. We'll go out to the Biltmore Estate from our time in Tennessee. And then we also incorporate the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory while we're in Louisville. From Lexington, we'll see the Kentucky Horse Park, and we also stop at the Ark Encounter, learning a little bit about the story of Noah's Ark. And then in Tennessee, we'll be based in the Gatlinburg area, and that's a great hub to get a chance to explore Pigeon Forge, seeing Dollywood, where we'll get a chance to explore that park, as well as the Great Smoky Mountains National Park with the fog that hovers over the hills. And then we wrap up with a Nashville City Tour and 3 nights in Nashville. So getting a chance to see the Grand Ole Opry and the Country Music Hall of Fame. Again, September and October for the departure dates on this one. Now, getting a chance to go into Pennsylvania. This is our Brandywine, Philadelphia, and Amish Country Tour. And it is a 1 hotel stay with 5 nights in Philadelphia. And we do 6 days of exploring the different areas of Eastern Pennsylvania. We'll start with a city tour in the city of Philadelphia, and that's where we get a chance to explore the Independence Hall and Liberty Bell. And it's a special year to explore this area as it is part of the 250th anniversary of the country. And there'll be a lot of different components within the city that are celebrating that. And we also incorporate a stop on the back end at the National Constitution Center. We do a stop at the Reading Terminal Market, and this is an amazing market for different types of foods and vendors. So we'll do a lunch on your own there. And then we also work our way out to 2 beautiful mansions and garden areas. One is Longwood Gardens and the other Nemours Mansion. And these are both locations of the DuPont family, famous for their creation of smokeless gunpowder. From there, we go out to Valley Forge. We get a chance to see the headquarters of George Washington, as that was the Continental Army's base for their winter encampment, and really impressive grounds to explore. Then it's off to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and if you like chocolate as much as I do, it's a really fun experience going into the chocolate factory and exploring all the different brands that they're covering as a Hershey company. You'll learn the story of Milton Hershey and how he founded the company, and a really fun experience getting to try a lot of different varieties. Then it's off to Amish country as our wrap-up. We'll get a chance to explore a wonderful farm, local farm, as well, getting a chance to see these quilts that are specialty made. And we wrap up with a farewell dinner, a traditional home-style country meal in that region. So a lot of fun to explore that part of Pennsylvania. And this one goes out June 7th and September 27th, 6 days and 5 nights. Our Cape Cod and the Islands tour is a wonderful experience going out to the Cape and seeing all the different islands, as well spending some time in the city of Boston. And so we'll fly in and out of Boston as our hub. We do 1 night with a city tour, and that incorporates Faneuil Hall as well as Boston Commons. Get a chance to see the downtown area and some of the great historic sites within the city. And then we work our way out to Plymouth and getting a chance to see Plymouth Rock and the Pawtucket Plantation. So really impressive structure, getting a chance to see the history of this area. And then it's off to the Mayflower II, and that is a replica of the Mayflower that came across with the Pilgrims. We'll then base in Yarmouth or Hyannis for 5 nights, and that's where we'll travel out up to the north end of the Cape in Provincetown, and we'll do a day trip up there. We then take 2 different ferry rides, one to Nantucket, and that's where we get a chance to experience the Whaling Museum, which brought a lot of the wealth to the East Coast. We'll also take a ferry to Martha's Vineyard, and it's a really impressive area with Edgartown and a number of different stops. So that's a great way to explore the island chain by ferry and seeing the waterways on that stretch. We do another day trip that hits Rhode Island, and we'll go into Newport for the day, getting a chance to do a Newport City tour with the Tennis Hall of Fame, and then going out to Bellevue Avenue and seeing the Breakers Mansion as well as the number of other mansions along that coastline. And we wrap up with a great lobster farewell dinner, so you get a chance to try some of that fantastic lobster, some of which weighs up to 8 pounds on this coast. Our Landscapes and Lighthouses tour is a really fantastic program. This one goes out September 19th and October 3rd, and it starts in Boston as well. One of the biggest differences on the Boston City Tour is going to Fenway Park and getting to do a tour of the actual ballpark. and it's one of the oldest baseball stadiums in all of America. We'll then head up along the coastline into New Hampshire and Maine with a 5-night stay in either Kennebunkport or Ogunquit. And those are great little harbor towns, a lot of activity around them. We'll get a chance to see and visit Portland and do a Portland city tour. And then we also make our way up to the north to Boothbay Harbor. And we'll do a couple of different boat rides on this journey. One is a lobster boat cruise, and that's where you're taken out by lobster fishermen that show you how do they catch the lobster, what they're baiting it with, and also the ones they select for specific reasons. We do a great lobster clam bake as well, so that celebrates a lot of the regional specialties. And then going to the Portland Head Lighthouse while we're out there and getting a chance to see one of the most photographed lighthouses in all of America. So this is a 7-day, 6-night program and 9 meals incorporated. Out to the west, if you want to stay close to the West Coast, it's a great opportunity to explore the Pacific Coast, Seattle to San Francisco. And this is going July 12th and August 9th. Both are guaranteed and have limited space available still. But we start out in Seattle. And coming from Seattle, it's an incredible city with so much to offer, both from a food scene as well as the scenery. And there is no better time to visit this city than the peak of summer in July and August, when the weather usually hits the 70s and 80s, very comfortable, when the rest of the country is scorching hot. Beautiful sightseeing and hopefully getting a chance to see Mount Rainier from the city as well. We'll do a city tour with the Space Needle. And so we go up to the top and get a chance to view the entire city from the observation deck. We also go over to Chihuly's Garden and Glass. And Dale Chihuly, well known for his glass making all over the world. Really impressive facility there right at the base of the Space Needle. And as we work our way south, we'll stop in the city of Portland. We'll also work our way out to Multnomah Falls, which is an incredible waterfall of 2 different layers, 2 different levels. And it's a historic site with the Benson Bridge. From there, off into the city, and we get a chance to see the Rose Test Gardens, as well as some of the popular sites like Voodoo Donuts. So really fun experience going through the city. And then we'll continue out towards the coastline. That's where we get out to the Newport area, as well as Lincoln City, and travel down the coast to Coos Bay. And en route, we'll stop at the sand dunes. This is one of the largest stretches of sand dunes in America, just now south of Florence. From Coos Bay, a really fascinating experience getting a chance to see the fishing and timber towns of Oregon as we drive along the coastline there, and also some big beds of oysters throughout that region. We then cross the border into Northern California, and on this program, we'll get a chance to see some of the highlights like the Redwoods National Park. We'll go through the Rogue River area and also do a jet boat ride. And then coming into the Redwoods, we'll stop at a number of different segments of these beautiful redwood trees and learn all about the depth of their developments. We then head through the Avenue of the Giants. On the following day, we'll base in Eureka for 1 night, which is a former timber town as well. And then going through the Avenue of the Giants the next morning as we head down towards San Francisco. And we'll also make a stop at a winery for some wine tasting. And then we wrap up with 2 nights in the city by the bay with a city tour and a great exploration. Our Utah's Mighty National Parks tour is another fantastic experience, getting a chance to see a number of different parks in this amazing state. So we'll fly in and out of Salt Lake. We've changed the program a little bit over the last couple of years to do a 1-night stay in Salt Lake and work our way down to Moab from there. Moab's a really great hub to explore some of the great parks, including Canyonlands and Arches. So getting to see a number of the 2,000 arch formations in that beautiful park. We also work our way out to Capitol Reef, as well going down into Monument Valley. And we do a scenic drive tour with the Navajo Native Guide in that region. We'll also work our way out on a beautiful experience at night in Canyonlands National Park with a night cruise. And this trip has 10 meals incorporated and really does hit a lot of the famous sites in the state. We finish with 1 night in Park City before flying home out of Salt Lake. Now, our Mount Rushmore, Yellowstone, and Western Frontiers tour is a fantastic experience, getting a chance to see a lot of different states in one tour. And we start out in South Dakota with 3 nights in Rapid City. From there, we'll get a chance to see Mount Rushmore both in the day as well as the nighttime as we do the Illuminations tour of the monument. We also work our way over to Crazy Horse and get to see the progress that they've made over a number of years in the construction of this amazing monument. We'll go out to Badlands National Park and see some of the geology, the different layers, as well as learn about the history of its exotic jungle formations. And then over to Fort Hays, which is where they filmed Dances with Wolves, that famous Kevin Costner movie. And that's where we do a great chuck wagon supper dinner. From Rapid City, we'll go into Montana, into Little Bighorn, and that's where we get to learn about Custer's battle with the Native Americans there, and stay a night in Billings. We'll dip down into Wyoming and stop in the city of Cody, and this is one of my favorite stops on the trip as we visit the Buffalo Bill Cody Western Museum. And it is a 5-part museum with all sorts of great art, Native American relics, as well as Western art. And we'll come into the Yellowstone National Park from the east entrance. We'll work our way over along the Shoshone River, making our way past Yellowstone Lake and into West Yellowstone for a 2-night stay. And that's where we'll come back into the park for the following day, doing a loop tour that features Old Faithful, the famous geyser, as well as some of the great fountain pots and Yellowstone Canyon. And then we continue down into Jackson Hole, and that's where we'll pass by the Grand Teton National Park. And we do some photo stops along the way there. We're not doing any mountain climbing, so don't worry about that. But as we get into Jackson, we'll do a great dinner. And this is an amazing resort town, both in the summer as well as the winter. We finish out with a night stay in Salt Lake, and that's where we do a city tour, getting a chance to see some of the famous stops like the Tabernacle and the University of Utah. So our June departure of the 17th is already sold out. There's still space on June 20th, July 29th, and August 5th. Black Hills and Badlands is a 1-hotel stay version of that last program, focusing 6 nights in Rapid City. And this is known as the City of the Presidents, not just because of Mount Rushmore, but also on each of the corners of the city, there's a statue of one of the presidents, and it gives great depth of information about their time in office. We'll see sites like the Badlands National Park and the Mammoth site, which gives a great in-depth look at the animals and species that were there long before us, as well going out to the west into Wyoming, where we'll stop at Devil's Tower and also the western Wild West town of Deadwood. And you'll learn a little bit about Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane, some of the Old West shootouts. Seeing Mount Rushmore both in the day as well as the nighttime, as well as the Crazy Horse Memorial. And then my favorite aspect on this program is Custer State Park, and going out on the Jeep Safari, seeing all the different buffalo that are in Custer. There's over 1,000 head of buffalo there, and the drivers do a great job explaining these animals, in-depth knowledge, and fascinating facts. We'll do that night at the Game Lodge, which is a former summer White House of one of our presidents. And then we also work our way on the 1880 steam train that takes us up and through the Black Hills on our way over to Mount Rushmore during the daytime. So 7 days and 6 nights all at one hotel. A little bit more of the East is our Explore America's Historic East departure, which is September 20th and October 11th. And this focuses on the 250th anniversary of America. We'll start in Philadelphia and end in Washington, D.C. And in our time in Philly, we'll get a chance to see the Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell. We then work our way over to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's where we'll do some sites of the Amish country. And then into Gettysburg, where we'll have 2 nights as a stay. In Gettysburg, we do the Visitor Center, as well as the panorama, which is really incredible. We'll also get a chance to spend some time on the battlefields and learn the true stories of the different components of the armies that fought on these fields. From Gettysburg, we head down to Shenandoah National Park in Virginia, and this is where the South used as cover to march their way north in the coverage of trees and the beautiful valley there. It's famous for its landscape as well as the wildlife that calls that area home. And then we do one night in Charlottesville before stopping at Monticello. And that's where we'll learn about Thomas Jefferson's life and his farm. Over to Richmond, which was the base of the Southern Army's hub. So some really interesting history on the Civil War in that town. And then we do a night in Williamsburg. So you get a chance to see colonial Williamsburg and some of the early development of the United States. We wrap up with 3 nights in Washington, D.C. That's where we get a chance to see the amazing structures of Mount Vernon, George and Martha Washington's home, Arlington National Cemetery, and the beautiful grave sites of John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. And then doing an illuminations tour of the national monuments is a really impressive way to experience the city. So this one again going out September 20th and October 11th, highlighting the 250th anniversary of America. A couple of the Canadian programs that we still have remaining for the summer. You can see a number of sold out dates in the summertime, but we still have July 26th and September 13th available on our Majestic Canadian Rockies. And this is a highlight tour when it comes to a one hotel stay with 5 nights in the city of Banff. And we prioritize properties that are right on Banff Avenue. Really great locations near all the major resorts, which have easy connections to some of the restaurants. And then going out to the Columbia Ice Fields and the Icefield Parkway, which is just a stunning drive past the beautiful lakes and some of the great scenery that we work our way through. As we get up to the ice fields, the Columbia Icefield Ice Explorer is a large vehicle that takes us up onto the glacier, and we'll get a chance to try glacial water and experience the glacier firsthand. A much better way than hiking, because I tried that last summer and it wasn't ideal. But then we'll work our way out to some of the beautiful lake areas, including Peyto Lake, which it's got this amazing rich color to it. Emerald Lake as well, pictured in the bottom left, and it's a fascinating stop to get a chance to see the mountains in the backdrop as well as this alpine lake. And of course, going out to Lake Louise. And we do a lunch at Chateau Lake Louise, the famous Fairmont property. It'd be about twice the cost of the trip if we were staying there, but it's a really fun stop to make and get a chance to see that area. We'll also do Banff National Park, and we work our way over to Yoho, where Emerald Lake is located. So a lot of fascinating stops on this program, a great one hotel stay, and round trip air in and out of Calgary. Another fun program is our Canadian Rockies Rail Journey, and we do have a sold out date in August, but we have dates in June, July, August, and September still remaining. It is a limited number of passengers on this trip as it's based on the availability in the train. We have a sleeper car, sleeper plus cars that we utilize for a one-night stay on board the train as we cross over the North Thompson River from Vancouver. But we start this program with 2 nights in the beautiful northwest city of Vancouver. Again, a great time to go to that city in the midst of summer as the weather is the best. We'll do a city tour of Vancouver, getting a chance to see the Chinatown area as well as the beautiful parks. And then we go over by ferry to Vancouver Island. And that's where we see the city of Victoria, which is an old British city. It was a fortification as a main hunting location, the fur trapping and everything in between. And we also incorporate a stop at the Bouchard Gardens. And this is an amazing landscape garden, so we'll get a chance to explore there. We continue on that train, the Via Rail, which is an amazing journey up and over the Canadian Rockies. And we wrap up in Jasper. So we stay a night in Jasper and we get a chance to see the amazing lakes to the north end of the Rockies. We then do a 3-night stay in Banff, and that's where we'll get a chance to see Chateau Lake Louise. We'll do the Icefields Parkway on one of the days, including the Ice Explorer. And then we also work our way through some of the other side experiences like Yoho National Park. So Moraine Lake and some of the other specialties. This one goes out again all throughout summer and into September. When it comes to Canada, this is the last program I'll talk on, is our Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes. And Halifax is just such a fascinating city. It's become one of my favorites to explore, and the food in Halifax is awesome. Some great seafood, a lot of fantastic restaurants, both for dinners as well as desserts. This one goes out August 10th, and we work our way in for one night in Halifax on arrival. We then head out to Bedeque and exploring the Cabot Trail. And this is a beautiful landscape, especially in the summertime, as we travel around the island. 2 nights in Bedeque gives us a chance to explore some of the great stops along the way. And then we work our way over through Cape Breton with some amazing viewpoints along the coastline, and then taking the ferry over to Prince Edward Island and the area of Charlottetown. That's also where we'll get a chance to see Anne of Green Gables Heritage Place, so learning that story. And then coming down into New Brunswick, where we stay a night in Moncton and go down to Hopewell Rocks. And this is an area with one of the world's highest tides. And as the tide goes out, it opens a whole bed of rockery and a really interesting pattern to explore. So we'll go out and check out Hopewell Rocks in our time there. We also get a chance to see Peggy's Cove, which has a famous lighthouse, and doing a Halifax city tour, as well as the little town of Lunenburg. And this is an amazing UNESCO World Heritage Site that really reminds you a lot of old British community. So we go out August 10th for 9 days and 8 nights. Internationally, we have a lot of great programs still remaining for the summer and fall, but specifically our Alpine Swiss Villages and Rails Tour. This one has July and September departures remaining, 6 nights in one hotel in Wengen, and 1 night in Zurich as we depart. So Wengen sits up in the Alps, in the beautiful mountains, looking out over the valley, over the Lauterbrunnen Valley. And it's a different type of tour in that we use a lot of the different rail transportation throughout Switzerland. We'll go out to Trummelbach Falls as well as the Lauterbrunnen Valley and getting a chance to see those waterfalls there. Gimmelwald and Grindelwald, which are great little communities. And we'll do a walking tour of the city of Lucerne. We'll also, as we arrive, come into Bern and do a walking tour seeing the astronomical clock. And then going out on a lake cruise on Lake Brienz. We'll also see Interlaken, the town between 2 lakes. And then an optional tour which takes us out to Zermatt and the Matterhorn. So a really fascinating experience going to all of these great locations. Again, this is a limited space tour as there's only so much space we can block out for the train rides specifically, but we get a Berner Oberlin pass on this program to use the rails in any way we'd like. Our Treasures of Ireland program has departures in September and October remaining, and this is an amazing opportunity to see the Emerald Isle. We arrive and do a 2-night stay in Dublin with a great city tour, and that features the Book of Kells as well as the Jameson Distillery, and we also get a chance to see the Guinness Storehouse. From there, we continue out to Limerick, and Limerick is home of the book Angela's Ashes. It was written about the times and the struggles out in that area. It is a beautiful port town, and from there we'll go out to the north to the Cliffs of Moher and the city of Galway. And it's a beautiful university town with a fascinating culture, very lively and energetic city. We also work our way down to Killarney, and that's where we'll spend 2 nights visiting the Ring of Kerry. So we'll do a driving tour of the Ring, this famous peninsula that juts out into the Atlantic Ocean. And also in our time there, we'll do the jaunting cart ride and visit the Muckross House, which is a famous property that was visited by the Queen. We continue back to Dublin for our last night in a castle stay, and we'll stop in Kilkenny as well as the Blarney Castle. So getting a chance to kiss the Blarney Stone if you wish to. We offer a 2-night extension at the end of this trip up to Belfast, and it's amazing history, getting a chance to learn about the troubles between the North and the South, as well as the Great Titanic. So we'll see the Titanic Museum while we're there. We then go out to the Giant's Causeway on the north tip of Ireland and the amazing rock formations that they have. So this one goes out September 29th, October 6th, 13th, and 20th. Last but not least are our mystery tours, and these are 5 days in length, going all around the country. So our first departure coming up May 17th, and then August 9th is our one international mystery tour led by Chris McCool. And this one, I will give you a hint, it is to Canada. Great opportunity to explore a different area. But how they work is you tell us where you've been before, areas you want to visit, and we direct you towards the right date for you. And Along that process, we send out a packet about 3 weeks ahead of time that tells you the average temperature in the destination, how to pack, as well as some helpful hints. And then in that packet as well are some tabs that say keep this closed if you want to keep it a mystery. Some people can't help themselves, but it's great to experience this firsthand with everybody else. And these are fun destinations, that areas maybe you hadn't thought of as a destination before, but really creative itineraries with a lot of fun incorporated. And the tour managers do a great job of unveiling the experience as we go. So there's a departure just about every single month from August through December. And these are 5 days and 7 meals included with all of our breakfasts and a welcome and farewell dinner. Doing our show specials for those who are attending. If you do book a new 2026 tour or European river cruise by Friday, May 15th, we'll reduce the deposit on these programs down to $150. So generally our deposits are $400 for domestic, $600 for international. But if you book your deposit with your travel insurance, we'll bring that down to $150. Also, on our remaining European river cruises, we do a cabin category upgrade, and that's up to $200 to $400 off per person. How that operates is you book the lower category at the lower cost, and you're automatically upgraded to the category above it, saving that much money, as well as putting you in a better spot on the ship. So I usually recommend people booking category D and being upgraded to C, or going from B to A. Suites are not available on that upgrade, but in general, it does provide better location on the ship, better spacing in the cabin. So category D and E are on the lowest deck, C and B on the middle deck, and A and suites are on the upper deck. And use the code TRAVEL NOW by Friday, May 15th for these to apply. And how you can make your reservation is calling our team at 1-800-369-3693, talking to Joe, Holly, April, or Samantha, and any of them can assist in your booking or answer any questions that you may have. And so their emails are down below as well, Joe, Holly, April, or Samantha at afctours.com, or visit our website, afcvacations.com, and check out the forms section to fill that out online. Our brochure will be hitting mailboxes here in the next couple of days, so look out for that. It's already available online if you want to take a look at some of the great departures coming up. And from all of us at AFC, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for attending. And if you do have any new destination recommendations, any areas you want to visit, and feedback about the show or new show ideas, please reach out to April at afctours.com. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.